All right, we're back for another week with our transformation coach, Debbie Cox DeNova, and can't wait to hear the topic. But Debbie, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
All right, you always come up with great topics. What this week?
Gratitude, the science of gratitude, actually, which is a requested topic. And we all have heard about gratitude all of our lives. It's been talked about forever. And we usually hear things like, oh, you should write a list of things that you're grateful for, right? Put your hand on your heart, feel into the experience of appreciation, and it will make all sorts of changes for you. And that is true.
And you also want to know that the other people you're helping have gratitude towards you, and
Absolutely.
vice versa.
Absolutely. There are all sorts of protective benefits to gratitude. But what I found is that the science actually shows that the ones that are most popular that we've heard about, like making bulletproof lists, are not the most effective when it comes to enhancing our neurochemistry and our physiology and having protective effects. So I would love to talk about, first of all, what the science says about the protective effects of a good gratitude practice, and then actually define what a good gratitude practice based on the science actually is. So when it comes to gratitude, we can see that the neurochemical, the anti-inflammatory, the neuro circuit mechanisms that are invoked through gratitude are actually on par with some of the more potent health preventions, or the health preventions that we think of as more potent, like high intensity interval training, like pharmacology. So we see that not only does it help us to repair in our neurochemistry, help us to repair against past traumas, but it actually inoculates us against future traumas as well by helping to repair the networks, the brain's networks for fear and defense. It helps us to create deeper social relationships, not just with the people that we're grateful to, but across the board. Our social network actually improves when we're grateful for any one thing or any person, not only with everyone else, but with ourselves.
I'll tell you a pet peeve of mine.
Sure.
You'd be at a restaurant.
Yeah.
4 people at a table. These waitresses, young men, young women, doesn't matter. They're just starting out. They come, they're serving you really hard. And somebody will go, give me a Coke. And in my brain, I'm going, please.
Exactly.
Or thank you. To this day,
Yeah.
my parents told me, yes, sir, no, sir, please, thank you. That's gratitude.
It is. It is absolutely gratitude. And it's really important that that you actually genuinely feel into the feeling of appreciation and gratitude, because science really shows that just giving lip service, our neurochemistry is too smart to be tricked, right? So the deep appreciation, all of the things that are positive associated with the practice of gratitude only come when it's genuine gratitude, when the heart is actually involved.
Great point.
Yes. So just saying thank you is not enough. It's actually important to be in the actual experience of appreciation. There is some science that suggests that when we go into a state of autonomic arousal, and just as a reminder, there are 2 arms to our autonomic system. There's the parasympathetic, so it's rest and digest, right? It kind of calms us down. And then there's the sympathetic, which is the arousal, so it's fight or flight, right? So there is some evidence to suggest that when we're in a state of alertness, when our parasympathetic nervous system is aroused, so either through breathing or like exercise, that it actually does more to, when we're in a state of gratitude, to hardwire us differently and protect us from cardiac events like cardiac health, and improves our social experiences with people all around us overall. It improves our immune system, long-lasting effects to our physiology and our psychology with a regular, consistent gratitude practice.
Yeah, so when you're sitting down, it could be a restaurant, could be work, could be anything. And let's use a restaurant, for example. But you can tell that a lot of these young people that come to your table, they're already a little nervous.
Yeah.
They want to perform well. They want to be doing really well.
Yeah.
So you can destroy them in the first 10 seconds when they come up to your table.
For sure.
Or you could bolster them to where they got you anything you want, they got it.
Yeah, absolutely. And because we're so influenceable as people, you approaching someone with gratitude and communicating from a state of gratitude actually influences their state of being as well, and that goes on and on endlessly, right? So as parents at home, if you have children, it's really important to demonstrate sense of gratitude for what is. Of course, we're always shooting for the next thing, right? But it's really important to at the same time be super grateful for what is, and to teach your children to do that, not only because it actually helps their well-being and helps them have a more positive mindset, but it has a protective effect on them and health-wise, and actually can help them live longer.
Yeah, and I've always wondered, but I find that most people who experience or exemplify deep gratitude look at their parents.
Yeah. And look, and it's not something you can force, right? Like there's that study with the mouse study, and there's some human studies too, where you put a mouse on a running wheel, and they love to do that, right? And they run, and they get all these health benefits. The blood pressure comes down, the inflammatory markers reduced, right? But if you put another mouse in a running wheel that's adjoined to that one, and that mouse is actually forced to run every time this original mouse runs, but without choice, the stress markers actually increase, blood pressure actually goes up. It's the same amount of running, right? And running should be a positive health benefit. But because of the frame up, and we can talk about this when we come back from the break, because of the way that this mouse is framing it up without choice, it actually increases stress and actually has negative health effects.
Been having a lot of these talks with people my same age who own businesses. When we were brought up, God, we were so happy. I remember waiting by the phone. I got a call from Mr. Buquet, told me I was accepted to work during college.
Yeah.
That was it. My goal was reached.
Yeah.
Now we had to work very hard. But has it changed? Do people still get that excited when they get a job?
I think that unless it's demonstrated for you, and unless we're taught culturally the importance of this, we're hardwired for negativity, unfortunately, probably from a survival perspective. There are a lot of different reasons for that. And so, but the good news is that we can change our neurochemistry by our choices. So a regular gratitude practice is a really important and huge way to do that, because while we're hardwired for survival and therefore more negative, if we are able to on a regular basis practice gratitude, it's sort of like a switch. So we talked about the mouse that didn't have any choice, right? And how the framework of that is really important, because in humans, we have the prefrontal cortex, which we talked about, the more evolved part of the brain. And it really is the last part of the brain to develop. So the physical structure of it doesn't finish developing till after the age of 20. That means prior to that we are susceptible to trauma. We're susceptible to false messaging. We're susceptible to negative programming. Without being able to analyze whether it's true or not, it becomes a part of who we are. As we get older and we have choice, now we're able to say, okay, like what can I do to create myself as a more grateful person in the world so that my satisfaction and well-being is increased? But science also shows that it reduces anxiety and stress circuitry in the brain, so the defense mechanisms, and it increases pro-social, so leaning into people, leaning into situations. It increases motivation and well-being. And that's really cool, because we typically associate people who are more motivated with high stress, right? But if you have a gratitude practice, you can be both motivated, healthy, and also you can be someone who is low stress. Your anxiety and your stress are low, and so you're supported all the way around in general.
But I've noticed too, and I've read a lot of articles, so it's probably not me the only one thinking of this. And I've talked to a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
Same problems. If you go through work every day and 8 out of 10 things go right, don't harp on the 2 things that went wrong or that went totally kabunk. And it sort of makes you look at your job as something bad.
Yeah.
When you did 8 out of 10 things right.
Absolutely. And also, yes. And so look, being able to give gratitude is really important. Science also supports that the most effective thing is receiving gratitude. So if you're someone who's in a workplace, you're experiencing low gratitude, there is a research study that shows like two coworkers were linked up to neuroimaging, and one coworker was reading a letter of gratitude to the other, and what they found is above and beyond, the recipient of gratitude actually had better health outcomes than the person who was giving gratitude. So it's kind of a reciprocal thing. And our brains are hardwired for story. There was one research study that showed a number of people across the world were told a story, the same story, but they were in separate places. They were separated. And what they found, interestingly enough, is that their heart rates started to sync up listening to the story. They actually started having physiological patterning that happened to them. And so one of the ways that Andrew Huberman says that you can actually have an effective gratitude practice that is really super simple in 60 seconds is to actually think about a story where someone was grateful to you, right? And you actually know the details of that story, or you actually you remember a story of someone else being grateful to someone else, something that inspires you, and you bring it to recall on a regular basis over and over and over again. And it can be just bullet points. So you can listen to the full out story and then put bullet points about the gratitude, what it felt like, or what it felt like to watch someone else be grateful. There was one study with genocide survivors who were telling about how they were helped through the process of their survival. And watching that actually, it was kind of like an empathy, right, thing, right? It actually activated the same circuitry in the brains for gratitude. So if you do that on a regular basis, and Andrew Huberman says you can do it 3 times a week, although there is no solid research on exactly how many times, in the first thing in the morning and last thing at night, we talked about your brain being in theta state, so you're more susceptible, but you really can do it all day long and should be able to do it all day long. And having that strong, if you can have that strong autonomic arousal at the same time, that's an effective gratitude practice that can take you places.
You know, employees, they want to have gratitude from the boss.
Yeah.
But then the bosses want appreciation.
Yeah.
Let's take the hospital, for example. A lot of nurses getting shifts and when you start off being a nurse, you don't always get the best shift.
Right.
But instead of being ungrateful for the shift you got, be grateful you have a shift.
Yes.
And one day, you'll be in the supervisor's role working people all on shifts.
Yes, most certainly.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Double-edged sword, right?
Double-edged sword. Yes.
All right, fantastic. So what are we going to talk about next week? You keep up in the ante here. I like that.
Well, I'm taking suggestions, and I have a number of requests coming in. So
okay, so this is going to be interesting. I'm trying to think of one right now that we could. I know you're going to be joining us on Sports on the Bayou, so maybe you'll have some helpful tips for Bobby Hebert. I don't know how you're going to last on him, but we're going to try, right?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Deb.
All right, thank
you.
you.
There you have it. Another edition of Good Vibes, and we appreciate you watching. As always, we'll take a short break. We'll have a lot more. Always looking forward to the next topics that come up on this program. Don't go away.